Thursday, and welcome into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here on a rainy Thursday, dreary outside, but we're here and we are glad that you are as well. Looking forward to a fantastic show. We've got three really great guests coming your way. We continue our college football previews with Eric Henry, formerly covering FIU and Conference USA. He's now working with 24/7 Sports covering the Texas Longhorns. So we'll talk to him about the Big 12. We've also got a special guest from South Beach.
Where she took her talents, I guess.
That's right. We'll go to Miami, where CHRISTINA DeNICOLA is going to tell us a little bit about what the Marlins saw when they went after Ryan Weathers and received the left-hander from Loretto. Should be fun. Should be a good conversation. And for Braves fans who don't yet know, Garrett Cooper is no longer a Marlin. And so those things are good because that guy hit about 800 against us.
Are you sure it wasn't more?
I don't know that we ever got him out. So glad to see he's gone out of the division at least. We'll also talk to James LAWSON, football coach.
No. Brian LILLY, football coach at James LAWSON. Oh.
I was getting that.
I thought you were introducing him as James LAWSON. I'm like,
well, that's the problem with having names at the school. That's where you get mixed up.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, what's today? Yeah, James LAWSON's football coach, Brian LILLY. But
Thank you.
Or Brian LILLY, James LAWSON football coach. Your choice, however you want to do it. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited to hear about what
James LAWSON, like. Comma.
Yes.
Brian LILLY, football coach.
That's what it's good. He's one of those two things. I don't know which is which. There's a lot of names involved in here.
There are a lot of names. Yeah.
First off, I was like, what did I mess up? What? And I was waiting for you to tell me. And I was like, okay, good.
Turns out you didn't mess up anything.
Yeah. It's like that quote X I tried to make last night and completely botched it. So it is what it is.
Good Lord.
Oh, man.
I'm just glad we got mics on.
Hey, we've got microphones on. We've got some lighting in here. I was really worried today because it's as dark as it can be. So I brought out the old faithful lights and they seem to be working well. turned the overhead lights on, and they're actually helping a little bit too. So yeah, it's going to be a good show. You guys can see us today, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
you can see us.
We're also going to talk Braves. You know, I saw a tweet, an X, or whatever.
No, it's a tweet.
It's a tweet. It was really a graphic of coaches on the hot seat, and there were some names.
What is this? NFL?
No, college
Football coaches on the hot seat.
And there were some names on this graphic in single digits that I thought were ridiculous. So we'll talk about.
Do you have the graphic?
Some of the coaches, yes.
Can you share?
I will.
Okay.
Some of the coaches who are on this list, but also we may just go through every SEC coach and
grade his seat.
Decide, what do they have to do to keep their job? And what's or how bad do they have to be to lose their job? It's kind of the same thing, but yes. So we'll look into all this. It's going to be really interesting. And of course, tonight the NFL officially kicks off. It's preseason football already. And we'll talk very briefly.
I'm not ready, by the way.
I'm not either. It's going to be brutal. But yeah, so all of that coming your way and more. So stick around. We'll be here until 4 o'clock, but we'll start today with yesterday's results, today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Thursday rundown is brought to you by Titans Flag Football. Have your kids play like the pros this fall season in select locations across Middle Tennessee. Titans Flag Football brings pre-K through 8th graders together to learn football fundamentals and, most importantly, have fun. Sign up for their fall season by visiting www.titansflagfootball.com.
American Legion regional tournament action last night. Columbia down in Randolph County, North Carolina, 7-5, advancing in the winners bracket there. In Major League Baseball, it was the Braves 12, the Angels 5, Nationals 3-2 winners over the Brewers. It was the Astros 3, Guardians 2. Marlins 9-8 winners over Philadelphia, and the Cardinals down the Twins 7-6. And the Cubs continue to swing hot bats, 36 runs in 2 days, 16-6 winners over Cincinnati. And in minor league baseball play last night, Durham defeated Nashville 9-6. WNBA play, it was the Dallas Wings 76 and the Seattle 65.
Today's action, the American Legion Southeast Regional Tournament continues over North Carolina. Columbia in winners bracket play will take on West End of Virginia. That's a 6:30 start. And I think you can actually hear that somewhere. If you go to Post19 SRS, Post19 Seniors on Twitter, you can find a link to the radio broadcast of that game. Little League Southeast Regional Tournament play down in Warner Robins, Georgia starts up today, and at 3 o'clock, top of the hour on ESPN Plus, you can see Tennessee State champion Nolensville against Alabama State champ of Coosa. Is that right?
Okay. Yes, not to be confused with CUSA.
COOSA, Alabama. Again, that's a 3 o'clock start on ESPN Plus. Major League Baseball action this afternoon already final. The Phillies with a 4-2 win over the Marlins. Again, we'll be talking to CHRISTINA DeNICOLA of marlins.mlb.com here later in the show. At 6:15 tonight, you've got Houston at Yankee Stadium against New York. Also, Pittsburgh is at Milwaukee. At 6:45, it's Minnesota at Busch Stadium against the Cardinals. At 7:05, the Reds can't get out of Wrigley Field soon enough, but they still got one more against the Cubs. Again, that's a 7:05 start. At 1:20 tomorrow, which is before we come on the air. So Braves start their 3-game series against the Cubs. All 3 of those games are day games this weekend.
They're all at the same time, all at 1:20.
All at 1:20, yeah. Same verse, second as the first. 6:35 tonight at First Horizon.
Hopefully.
Weather permitting. Durham and the Sounds continue their series.
WNBA action tonight. Atlanta is in Phoenix to take on the Mercury. That's a 9 o'clock tip on Amazon Prime or Bally, apparently, because it's Atlanta. So Bally South will be carrying that. NFL preseason action tonight on NBC. It's the Hall of Fame game. The Jets and the Browns in Canton, Ohio. Canadian football, if you so desire. British Columbia takes on the Blue Bombers of Winnipeg.
That's regular season, though.
This is regular
so
season.
That one counts.
This is almost. We're closing in on playoffs in the CFL.
It is Canada.
Yeah,
you got to get them in.
BC is at Winnipeg at 7:30. That's on CBS Sports Network. And on ESPN tonight, Camping World's SRX series is at Berlin Raceway. That's at 8 p.m. start again on the mothership. And that is the rundown. Top Story is brought to you every single day by our friends at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Glad to have them on board here at Main Street Sports today. Tell us about the meat sale.
I was a little confused, I guess. I did see that they did have whole boneless ribeyes for like $6.49, but that was the only thing I saw. And they don't really have a meat counter per se. You have to ring for service, I think.
So typically, and this, I'm speaking from other grocery stores in this area, particularly nearby our studio.
Mm-hmm.
When they have a truckload meat sale, there's an actual trailer that you go into.
I did not see a trailer out front, but I guess I could have missed it. But no,
I don't know.
They just had back there in the meat department, they had like 8.5 by 11 placards saying whole truckload meat sale and whole ribeyes $6.49 a pound was the only thing.
$6.49. That seems okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, yeah, because the ribeyes that they had in the cooler were like $9.99 a pound.
Oh, well, yeah.
So
you'll take $6.69 every time
and go home and cut it, I guess.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I love doing that. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
So, okay, truckload meat sale still going on,
and
whole ribeyes, not bad. You'll take it. Our top story does come from the National Football League, as the Hall of Fame game is going to take place tonight. Again, it is the Jets and the Browns on NBC. Do they
on NBC on like the real?
Yes.
Okay.
Tickets for this thing start at $90.
$90 for a preseason game?
$90. $100.
Okay, so here's my question.
Not in the corners.
Say what now?
It's $100 to sit anywhere, near the
Decent.
field. Yeah.
Does Aaron Rodgers play in this game?
I mean, he probably has to take
one series?
A series, one would think.
Does Deshaun play?
I think he's got to play somewhat.
But I mean, when you're talking about $90 for a ticket to see who?
Yeah, that's not okay. No. So apparently, Kellen Mond will be the starter.
Kellen Mond, former Texas A&M.
Former Texas A&M.
Will start for the Jets?
No, will start for the Browns.
So Deshaun is not going to play.
Does not appear.
$90 to see Kellen Mond.
There's got to be something else involved in that. Like you got to get like tickets to some sort of event, right? Like that's, of course. I mean,
you got to throw a couple of.
They've already seen 8
minor
USFL
league baseball games in with that or something. I mean, they got minor league baseball in Akron. You got to throw something in with that for $90.
They've already seen 8 USFL games.
You got to let me in the Hall of Fame ceremonies on Sunday or something. $90 in this economy?
In this economy, that's I think the thing. The Browns obviously will see Joe Thomas enshrined. So maybe that's part of it. Zach Wilson is going to be playing quite a bit, I'm sure. I guess Josh Dobbs, and they're saying that Josh Dobbs is the third stringer, which I guess he is if Kellen Mond is playing tonight. But that's
He's
insane
currently the third stringer.
I don't understand that.
I mean, on August 3rd. What difference does the depth chart make on August 3rd?
Well, the fact that Kellen Mond would even be close to what Josh to a backup over.
Maybe
Josh
they
Dobbs.
just want to see him with the ones.
Well, I mean, this is NFL.com's story on this from Bobby Konak has him Mond and then Dobbs behind Watson. So that's just interesting, considering started an NFL game last year. Then you got Jim Schwartz is the new head coach for Cleveland. So there's that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of part of this deal. But yeah, I don't know what you get. I mean, this is
For $90.
and that's just the get-in price. I mean, you can pay up to $240 for a ticket.
You can.
I don't know why you would, but I mean, clearly somebody is. I love the storylines to watch.
Yeah, talk to me.
Mekhi Becton trying to earn a starting job on the offensive line for the Jets. That's it.
Okay. Mekhi Becton.
Yeah.
Should I know that name?
Offensive tackle who was selected 11th overall in 2020 has already said that he's going to treat tonight like a regular season game. Well, yeah, because it's the only kind of game that you'll get to treat that
Well,
way.
he dang sure oughta.
The reason he's going to do this is because he's trying to win a starting job at right tackle or left tackle, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to win that job after missing most of the past 2 seasons due to injury. He's only played in 1 game since the start of the 2021 year. Storyline for the Browns, Jim Schwartz. After sticking Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator.
Okay.
After sticking with Joe Woods for 3 seasons, the Browns finally kicked him to the curb in January. He's been replaced by Schwartz, who won a Super Bowl with the Eagles during his last stint as defensive coordinator. In terms of his defensive schemes, he won't be revealing much tonight, but it will be interesting to see how the defense looks in its first game under the new coordinator. Keep an eye out for Zach Wilson and Cedric Tillman. This is what CBSSports.com wrote. Now, clearly, this is not this doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us because we know who Cedric Tillman is. But you might not know his name, but everyone in Cleveland does, and there are 2 reasons for that. One, he was the Browns' first draft pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. The Browns didn't make their first pick until the 3rd round, and they used it to select Tillman. The other reason he's already made a name for himself is because the former Tennessee wide receiver has had an impressive training camp, and it won't be surprising if he makes a big play or 2 tonight.
Well, they are right. It won't be surprising if he makes a big play or 2 tonight.
No, he's. I've been kind of seeing some stuff on, just come across my feeds, and video of him in training camp is just fantastic.
It's just amazing the amount of shade that both he and Jalen Hyatt got going into the draft and what they've gotten, what they've done since they've been in camp.
Do you know how important it is for Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt to be successful at the next level for Tennessee?
Oh, huge. It's huge because all this gimmick offense stuff that.
So you've already taken away the biggest negative recruiting aspect in the postseason.
With the NCAA situation.
Second,
if these guys go and be successful at the next level,
it's huge.
Wide receiver
is back.
2.0
is back. And I think that
and
if you're a Tennessee
between
fan,
what that offense already does at the collegiate level, but oh yeah, it's not just here, it's there too.
Right. And I think
it translates.
That is
and to be able to go into living rooms and tell receivers that it translates. Yeah, that's a heck of a point.
I do not envy Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. as they have to figure out who
They
everybody
got to
is
learn
tonight.
a bunch of names that
They'll
aren't going to
never say
mean
again.
anything in 2 weeks.
They'll never say them again.
Yeah, man, that's tough. That's tough for them.
It is, in fact.
But hey, that's why they make the big bucks.
Jets are a 1.5 point favorite, Mo. You can bet on this game, and
somebody will.
especially if you're in Iowa.
Are there any Iowa or Iowa State players involved in this game?
If there are, they probably aren't now. They're on a watch list.
You're right.
So
It was amazing sitting at home and scrolling through Twitter as I am wont to do and seeing the number of people, including Reese Davis,
yes,
who agreed with your assessment of the place kicker that
Taking
took
the
the under on the Iowa State game.
I mean,
It's
crap.
not gambling. That's an investment.
Risk-free investment, baby. So, all right, let's take a break. When we come back, James Lawson football coach Brian LILLY joins us, talk about the Lightning and what's going on as preseason is underway in high school football as well on Coach's Corner. Stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone, and join us back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, coming to you live from the Lee Company studio here in Columbia as we get ready for high school football season just around the corner, a couple of weeks away. Jamborees next
some jamborees have kind of gone away or morphed into just kind of glorified scrimmages. Yeah.
That's
so,
unfortunate.
But yeah, so at any rate.
But it is, we've got one more Friday night.
Tomorrow night.
And that's it.
Yeah. Because like you said, next week is week 0. Folks don't use that phrase much, but and then it gets fast and furious until December.
Yeah, here we go. Today on Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. Renee Hart and the fine folks keeping you fed and happy. Make sure to take a trip out to Chapel Hill and see Renee if you're looking for breakfast, lunch, something to keep you hydrated and full on the golf course, maybe at Henry Horton. So should be a trip that you should be looking to make. I promise you. Even if there's no other reason to go to Chapel Hill, there's good reason in From the Heart Cafe. We go to Metro coach Brian Lilly joining us here with the first year James Lawson Lightning. I think they're just, you guys are just kind of going by Lawson, right? It's just kind of Lawson.
Yes, sir. From the athletic branding perspective, we're just referring to ourselves as Lawson. More of an academic standard would be James Lawson High School. That's the formal name of the school.
The Lawson Lightning.
We appreciate that because that's going to be a lot easier to manage, I think. Coach Lilly, thanks for taking some time with us. Now, real quick, have y'all started classes yet?
No, sir. We start on Tuesday. We've still been over here at Hillwood through this week, and then on Monday will be our first official practice at Lawson High School.
What time Monday?
We'll be out on the field about 3 o'clock. So we have some training or so. It'll be 3 or so, but by the time if you came out there at 3:30, we'd be rolling already. So any time between then, we'll be out there, and it's exciting, man, to finally get over there.
What we got going Monday?
Well, I mean, we got our show, but other than that, who knows?
We may be in touch.
Come on out.
What's it like, Coach? Well, you're not necessarily starting a program from scratch because it's a relocation, it's a rebranding, I guess. So it's not even that. What is this situation like that you're stepping into?
Man, I don't know many places that have a situation kind of like what we have, that some people think that it's a brand new school, that it's just new kids coming that have never went to school together, that you don't have seniors or whatever it may be in a typical situation. But, really it's Hillwood moving over down to Highway 70 with a new name, obviously a new location, new colors. And we're hoping to set a new culture, obviously, in the entire school. It's different because, what people don't think is they're trying to get ready for school the first day. So obviously they're getting the building ready, but the athletic facilities kind of come along afterwards. Because we have grass, you have to, take that into account. So we haven't been able to be out there this week because of the rain and stuff the previous week. But it's awesome, though. I think it's the coolest thing about it all is when I was getting interviewed and we were going out there and we were walking the facilities, just seeing all that come to fruition. I think it's phenomenal. And my first day on job and off season, there were some guys in the program, but we only had like 13 guys show up to workouts. And, it's easy for someone that is not as strong maybe to get discouraged. But right now we're about to get started with practice. We have 89 guys in the program. So we're blessed and we're definitely excited for what's to come.
So there's definitely a lot of excitement around the program. I mean, 89 kids, that's a pretty good number in Metro in particular. And for a program that's coming off of a 2-8 finish a year ago, is it just the newness of the situation that has generated those numbers, do you think? Or what would you attribute that to?
Well, when I was in when I was at off season every day, I was really the only coach there because all my guys were coming in. We had some of the guys with non-faculty coming. I was trying to get from 13 to 20. Then I was trying to get to 30. Then I was trying to get to 40. And by the time we got done with the spring semester, we had, give or take 45 or so. Obviously, getting 40 freshmen in the program helped, and we've added a couple more. I think that's the biggest thing is seeing 40 freshmen come into your program. A lot of it has to do with the allure of the newness of it, like what you talked about, how phenomenal the facility is. I think there's some people that, word spreads that, hey, there's something exciting going on over here. I think we have a great coaching staff, so people hear about that. But mostly it's the school and Dr. Schaefer's leadership, that people know what they're going to get with him. And now it's one of those things that maybe people would mudsling before on Hillwood because of the facilities and whatever it may be. But now that's kind of obsolete.
Brian Lilly, the new football coach at James Lawson High School, joining us here on Coach's Corner. Coach, you're coming over from a pretty established program at Brentwood Academy. What's the allure of this situation for you?
It's funny because, like, I don't know if it was 2-3 years ago when they released the renderings of what Lawson was going to look like. At the time, they didn't know just the new Hillwood. I was on the bus with one of my coaches going to a game, and he was showing me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. Little did I know that I would get led into this direction. I think the biggest allure is when I got, obviously, the same thing, what we just talked about with the kids, the new building and start a program, those kind of things. It's been a dream come true to become a head football coach. Ever since I started playing football, I always aspired to be a head football coach. Coach White at Brentwood Academy was my high school head football coach in Texas. I came to Tennessee because of him. His first year as a head coach was my senior year of high school. So I've always aspired to kind of emulate him, and he's a great leader to learn from, obviously. So I think that was one thing. It's just obtaining that lifelong dream. Getting someone to believe in you is a big thing too. Being only 33, a lot of people think that you may be too young, but I've been able to be around a lot of wise people and had a lot of experience and a lot of success because of some great coaches and players. Then I got to meet Dr. Schaefer and Coach Pete Froden, who's our athletic director, Dr. Schaefer, who's our executive principal, and then get to see kind of their leadership. Dr. Schaefer used to be a baseball coach. Coach Froden's a basketball coach. And they know what it takes to be successful. And I think being able to have your two immediate supervisors and superiors be athletic-minded guys that want to see things be successful, I think is a great appeal. And this is more of like a school that I went to. My high school in Denison was a very diverse town, 25,000 people, but a public school just like James Lawson High School. And so that's the biggest thing. I worked at a private school. I think kids need kids regardless. Kids need kids that are kids. They need people like us in their life. They need men like us in their life. They're going to lead them the right direction. I was the defensive coordinator at Cisco Junior College in Texas. Same kind of kids in some of those situations. And so it was never a thing of how's this private school guy going to do this public school. It was really coming back to my roots, honestly.
Coach, I'm curious because, you mentioned having 40 freshmen coming in. Your team has grown to 49 upperclassmen per se. And how much of that is attributed to, pride in making this, just they are starting something new. It may not be a new school, but they are starting something new. And there's that pride in starting on the right foot. When you have a new school and you have new facilities, it's kind of like look good, play good.
Yeah.
And so how much of an impact does that have on you guys' season coming up? Because, playing at Hillwood over the last few years has not been a source of pride.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of answers to this question. I think number one, having the facilities are phenomenal, and it attracted a lot of freshmen. Having a freshman team is going to be a big deal. Being in the Metro Freshman City League is big. I think it's easy to be able to look at something like that and to say, hey, this is phenomenal. And I think it was great for our freshmen to be at Hillwood all summer because they now have these roots that they may not have had if we would have just started over at Lawson. And so, not to talk bad about Hillwood, it's an old building that's they have new, whatever the next chapter is going to be for Hillwood High School, but it's literally like the outhouse to the penthouse in terms of going from the old to the new. And, I think that's a phenomenal thing. But me being an English nerd, I'm an English teacher, it's kind of like Romeo and Juliet when they talk about, what's in a name. A rose by any other name would still smell just as sweet. And so it's like, yeah, we're changing our name. Yeah, we're changing our colors. Yeah, we changed our location. But if we don't change at the foundational level, we don't change in the heart, we don't change the culture, then it's just going to be the same old thing. And so we have to be able to change from that perspective. And that's what a huge bit of what we're doing is just a whole cultural change in the sense of we can do this right one time. And these freshmen are going to be the first class that go all the way through, and they're going to be the ones that took the leap of faith and hopefully see some success as a result.
So how do you somehow, Hillwood does have a tradition. How do you somehow keep that, at least a little bit involved in what you guys are doing?
Yes, sir. So I have 3 coaches on my staff that are Hillwood graduates. 2 of them that were in the 2000s. One of them was in the 2010s, and they bring their friends out to practice. They come out. One of my biggest mentors, Price Carney, he graduated from Hillwood High School back in the 70s or 80s. And what we try to be able to do is to try to continue to get these Hillwood graduates to come and support these boys because they know what it takes to have a football program. They know how much sacrifice it takes. And regardless of if you're upset about what the name is, what the colors are, any of that stuff, you know that these boys need men like them in their life. And so we're having a decal and dogs event today where we're having hot dogs and putting decals on the helmets. And we've invited a lot of, former Hillwood alumni, even some Bellevue, OWL alumni from back in the day, for them to know that their history doesn't stop. We have a community room that's still going to be able to kind of show off their trophies and all those different things. But this is their school. And this is the Bellevue Graduate School, the Hillwood Graduate School. This is their school, regardless of what the colors are. I mean, it seems a little weird, but what we're trying to be able to do is to embrace them and get them to come back because we just don't want it to be where there's no alums and it just starts off right now. We need their support.
Brian Lilly, football coach at James Lawson High School, joining us here on Coach's Corner. And Chris, I'm pretty sure Coach Lilly is the first coach we've had on who has quoted Shakespeare.
Yeah, I don't think it's any question.
So, I don't know what Shakespeare quote would necessarily fit the new region that you're going into, Coach, with 2-time state runner-up Page, among other teams that you'll be lining up against. But as you look across this region, how do you feel like Lawson is set up to compete, this time around?
Yeah, so I think that we got in a very strong region with Page, Nolensville, and Centennial with the Williamson County Schools, and then ourselves, Hillsborough, and Glencliff, and knowing Coach Brown at Hillsborough, knowing Coach Stewart at Centennial, those guys are great coaches as well. And I don't have a relationship with the other coaches yet. I guess Paul Derrick, I do know him as well from Nolensville. But man, we're gonna have to bring it every week, and that's part of the reason why we hired great coaching staff. Jay Gore, who is my assistant head coach and offensive line coach, was the head coach at McGavick for many of years and coached for 44 years. And so he's my, advisor and helps me out. And he has forgotten more football than what I know. Jeremiah Oatswell is my offensive coordinator, and he's doing a phenomenal job as being the offensive coordinator and coaching our quarterbacks. And so we have a lot of really good coaches. And that's going to have to be a lot of it's the game's going to be won in game planning, but obviously we got to be out there and we got to make sure that when we get out there, we execute it. And it's going to be tough. And, I think it's going to be hard, this first year to see what we have. We were very much pleased last week when we went to Liberty Creek and we looked like a team when we were stretching and we got out there and we just, our core values are work hard, improve every day, being selfish and be the best. We worked really hard. And Coach Alexander from Liberty Creek was very much commending and acknowledging how hard we worked and the great effort our guys give. We're not where we need to be yet. Probably a lot of teams aren't. But I think it's going to be tough, man, each and every week, as it should be in your region. Coming from Brentwood Academy and having to go to, Baylor one week, McColley the next week, NBA, Innsworth. We've been there. We've seen that. But we know that, a lot of it's going to be getting these guys to believe in themselves, treating it like a 1-0 each week, and going out there with a great game plan each week and giving our guys and setting them up for success.
Not to get too much into X's and O's, but in the world that we live in, we know that kids want to play in these high-powered offenses. But do you do you have to kind of, especially as a first-year coach coming into a new situation, how do you evaluate what your plan is on offense and defense? Are you just kind of molding around what you have, or do you feel like they're malleable enough to put what you want to do in?
Yeah, so when I was at Cisco College, we specifically recruit to what our defense is. But the cool thing about our 3-4 defense is that it's very much user friendly, where we can plug and put people in and just dictate what our calls are based off of what the personnel we have. We play a lot of zone coverage, and so we can teach a lot of people to play zone. It's not like where we're playing man the entire time, and where people are beating us to death because we don't have the guys. And we don't know if we do have the guys yet, but what we do know is we have guys that work really hard, and we got guys that can, we have some guys that can go. And so really that's more of a perspective, I think, on offense. And so with Jeremiah, we got together in advance and thought, okay, in a perfect world, what would be our offense? And so he and I met for many a days. And then Coach Gore, we hired him, and we got together and we started saying, okay, what are our base plays, offense, defense, what's the verbiage, how are we going to call these things, how are we going to signal them? And then as I got into off season, we started accumulating more players at our school, and it was okay, I think we got a good running back, I think we got some good receivers, I think we have this, but it wasn't until last week that we got out there and we got to see guys do stuff with the ball in their hands and all that. So really I think the run pass percentage is dictated off of how's your quarterback, can the guys catch well, what do your running back situation look like? I think your play calls have to change, given exactly who you have and who your personnel are. And I think that was the biggest thing for us, is just as Jeremiah is continuing to grow, is okay, who are the guys that we need to get the ball in their hands, and how do we get the ball in their hands?
Do you have to remind J.O. that he's not calling plays for himself?
No, I don't. He's it's one of those things that I'm pretty hard on him. I give him a hard time, but I brag on him a lot, especially in public, because man, he's doing a great job, and he's seen a lot of football. He really took advantage of the COVID situation, the transfer rules. He got his master's paid for. I mean, he spent a lot of time in college, but he learned from a lot of coaches. And especially the year when he had a Liz Frank injury, he actually was like a coach on the field. The year Austin Peay went to the quarterfinals. And so that was actually really good for him to be able to kind of mature as a coach more than what people would think. And now, as a quarterback, you always are. We got to go to the Titans practice. It was a diversity coaching summit, and we got to see Ryan Tannehill out there, and he was literally like a coach. He was a coach on the field. He's running the meetings. He's doing everything. And that was kind of like how Jeremiah was. So no, we don't have to. He does a good job though. He's pretty balanced right now.
Just wanted to make sure. I mean, you know what they say about great players and their success rate in the coaching ranks and that kind of thing. And Jeremiah was certainly that. So
yes,
I'm intrigued to see how that translates for him.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate you taking some time with us today, and look forward to seeing the Lawson Lightning and some fantastic gear. You guys did a great job with the branding, great job with the colors, the helmets and the uniforms look fantastic. So again, those kids are going to look good. Now they got to go out there and make it look good themselves. So
Coach, before we let you go, obviously your season opener is your home opener on the 18th against Cheatham County. Is Metro still having their jamboree? Are y'all playing in the jamboree?
We are. We're actually this upcoming Thursday, I guess a week from today, we're going to be hosting Hunter's Lane. So they've broken it up to where there's not a single site for multiple games, like what you were talking about earlier, where it's single sites, and just to be able to, I think it brings a lot of people in, and there's not many places that can accommodate the traffic and whatever it may be. So we host Hunter's Lane at Lawson High School next week. Hope everybody can come out and check us out. And then the following week on the 18th, we'll be hosting a really good and a really well coached Cheatham County team. And we're hopefully have a military flyover. We're hoping to have a ton of people and to pack out the whole place. And if you haven't come and check out our program and come check out our facilities, I mean, they're state of the art, second to none. And you two guys can come out whenever. Just hit me up, and I'd love to show you guys around. I'd love to have you at practice.
Sounds good, Coach. We appreciate it. appreciate you taking some time with us, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Let's go Lightning. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. Braves are off today, but we have to preview tomorrow's game because it's on before we come on the air. So we'll get to that. And Max Freed's return right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Let your child play like the pros this fall season and join Titans Flag Football in their NFL Flag Football League. Titans Flag Football is no contact, easy to learn, convenient with teams meeting once per week for practices and games on Sundays. And we cannot forget it's ridiculously fun. Teams are co-ed with ages from pre-K through 8th grade in select locations across Middle Tennessee. Visit TitansFlagFootball.com and sign up before registration closes on September 4th. Let's play together and win together this fall season with Titans Flag Football.
Y'all, I'm serious right now. They have a dragon here. I saw it. But no, they don't. There's no such thing as dragons. I swear, I saw it. It had huge claws. Get out of here. It had eyes as big as the moon. Come on, I'll show you. Wait up. Do you hear that? We're almost there. Whoa! I told you so. That is a dragon.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Nights.
Third, 1967, the Braves set a club record by hitting 7 home runs in a 10-3 win over the host Chicago Cubs. Tito Francona, Dennis Menke, and Hank Aaron each hit solo shots, with Joe Torre adding a pair of solos and Clete Boyer hitting a solo and a 2-run blast, all in the first 5 innings, as Atlanta took a 9-2 lead and held on. Since then, the 2006 Braves eclipsed that mark with 8 homers on May 28th in a 13-12 win at Wrigley Field. Edgar Renteria hit a pair, Adam LaRoche hit a pair, Ryan Langerhans, Marcus Giles, Andrew Jones, and Brian Pena did the record-setting damage that day. That was this day in Braves history. So let me ask you this. The single game record for home runs by the Atlanta Braves is now 8. Can this team break it?
Yes. I don't think there's any question.
I think they hit 6 earlier this year.
Could.
Right?
Heck, they probably hit 6 yesterday.
They hit 6 in the last 2 days, I think, against the Angels.
That's ridiculous. I mean, seriously, I mean,
if the wind is blowing out this weekend,
well, and that's kind of, I mean, that's,
8 is in jeopardy.
That's why you see, that's why you've seen both of those records fall
at Wrigley.
Yeah. I mean,
kind of gives you a little extra surge going into these 3 120 ball games this weekend.
Yeah, I think you could certainly make a case that this is, there's some.
And I mean, this team has hit what?
206,
I think.
Yeah, I saw the numbers earlier. Not only did I see the numbers, I retweeted the numbers at some point. So 206 home runs, which is second, most in the major leagues. They have a 4-game lead over the next best team in the major leagues. 837 OPS, best in the major leagues. 601 runs, second most in the major leagues. 3.85 ERA, sixth best. 3.63 bullpen ERA, fourth best. And lead by 11 and a half games in the NL East. Seems good.
It does seem good.
So, yeah, I don't know when the last time the Braves hit 6 home runs, but boy, they've been on a tear lately. Although, so has Dansby Swanson. He's hit 4 in the last 3.
Good for him.
Of course, when you score 20 runs in one day and 16 the next, you're bound to have some solid offensive.
I'm telling you, man, Cincinnati has got to be chomping at the bit to get the heck out of Dodge.
And here's the thing: Cincinnati did not do a whole lot at the deadline, but didn't sell either because they felt like they had a chance, and now it's just kind of, oh no, what's going to happen? But the Brewers keep losing to NL East foes.
Yeah, I mean, losing to the Braves is one thing. Losing to the Nats is something else.
And not just losing to the Nats. I don't know if they got swept, but they lost the series for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that means.
The Reds, Brewers, and Cubs are all within 3 games of each other. The Cubs are 3 games back. Brewers are a half game back.
The Reds are still in the lead?
Mm-hmm. By a half game.
That's interesting.
I mean, by the end of the night, they may not be. Is Milwaukee playing today?
Man, this is wild. Yes, they play Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The Cubs, who are 3 games back of the league leading Cincinnati, are the only team in that division with a plus run differential, and it's plus 77. Now, granted, the last 2 days have certainly helped that, but they're the only ones. And that's nuts to me.
Yeah, I mean, they won 20-9 on Tuesday and 16-6 yesterday, so that's plus 21 right there.
And Cincinnati went from plus 4 to minus 17 in 2 days.
So
that's wild. And typically over 162 games, the run differential will just about tell you where a team is record-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Tomorrow, the Braves get Max Fried.
Mm-hmm.
The
Cubs have not announced.
No, but I think, what did I tell you yesterday? Kyle Hendricks maybe is kind of in the window. But see, the Cubs get Cincinnati again tonight. We was kind of hoping that they'd have a day off to cool down, but clearly they're not going to.
Elder Saturday, Morton Sunday.
Well, I mean, they're going to get our best, and they're 8-2 over their last.
Morton in Wrigley Field, after giving up 3 solo shots in his last start, doesn't necessarily thrill me. And I know all the positives that you can roll out there with Charlie. He's 10-9. He's got a 3.62 ERA. I know that there are a lot of positive stats, but watching him in his last start,
it was a literal
quality start. He did not necessarily pass the eye test.
And yet it was a quality start. 6 innings, 3 or fewer earned runs. I'll take if Charlie gives up nothing but 3 solo home runs every time he goes out, we ought to win.
There's that.
That's all I'm saying. If that's what he gives up every time he goes out, we ought to win. And as bad as he was,
the thing is, you're kind of sitting on the edge of your seat the entire game.
He certainly in the first inning particularly, but the rest of the way he was really good.
He threw 30 pitches in the first inning. I think he wound up with 91
total
for 6.
Yeah.
So that means he threw 61 pitches in his last 5 innings. That's
you can take that. You'll take that every day.
Yeah.
And only gave up 1 run in the first.
I'm just saying it's not easy to watch.
He's been throwing a lot of high pressure pitches
from the start.
And but Glavine did that his whole career.
But Glavine was a guy that if you didn't get him early, you weren't going to get him.
Again,
Charlie has been
he's
inconsistent.
He's been a little inconsistent, and this is let me just look, the numbers are there. And they're not 2-month numbers. These are numbers that are obvious that Charlie Morton is just fine in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like Charlie is going to struggle every time out, but I also don't think he's going to be lights out every time out. What you're going to get is you're going to get a guy who is going to give up some runs, but they're not going to be a whole bunch.
But here's my thing, though, Chris, is when does that 3 solo home runs become a 3-run home run and 2 2-run home runs?
Well, how many times, and think about it now, how many times do you feel like when Charlie Morton pitches, when there are runners on base, he gets better? I think he gives up a lot of home run solo shots because he's trying to get guys to put the ball in play, because he doesn't want to throw 100 pitches in 5 innings. He wants to throw 90 to 100 in 6 or 7. So instead of trying to strike guys out, despite being a 200 strikeout guy last year, he's still doing things. He's still trying to get guys to put the ball in play.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
6 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, 94 pitches. And if you take that first inning away, it's a completely different ballgame. But that's just, look, I understand Charlie gave up a bunch of home runs last year. He gave up a bunch of home runs. He's given up a bunch of home runs this year. But the fact is that he's won 10 games doing it. And
he's got a sub-4 ERA.
It's a sub-4 ERA. You'll take that. It's not like he's going out and every now and then giving you 6, giving you a quality start. This guy's giving you quality starts almost all the time. And I don't really care what he does right now. As long as he shows up in October like he did, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
That's you got to remember, he's still
and
last year was an anomaly because he was getting off that injury. He was trying to do too much, and he had that full off season. And I think his WAR right now is actually higher this year than it was last year in 10 fewer starts.
Yeah, your point is well taken, and I think that's pretty much the thing for this team as a whole. What happens right now doesn't matter. What happens next month doesn't matter. It's once we get to the postseason and everybody's 0-0 and you're trying to win 11 ball games, that's when it matters. So,
quick question before we get out of here, because we definitely need to go to a break. But what should we reasonably expect from Max Fried tomorrow?
I just want to see how deep in the game he can go. I mean, I think you're likely to see some of the same command issues that we've seen with Michael Soroka, just because it's his first time on a major league mound in what, 3 months?
3 months, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to see what his stamina looks like in that arena. I want to see if he can, make pitches and try to get deep against, a pretty hot Chicago Cubs team. So I think if you can get 6 innings out of him and be in the game when he comes out.
If we get 6, I think he will have oversold or over delivered.
Mm-hmm.
If we get 5 and he has a chance to get a win,
you're good.
I think that's overjoyed. I just want to see him go out there and not stink.
Yeah.
Against this offense.
Try not to suck.
Just try not to suck, Max. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back with a trip to Miami.
Going to Miami.
Christina DeNicola standing by. We'll get to her on the other side of this break right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Did you know that up to 80% of us will experience back or neck pain during our lifetime? Many of you are offered surgery or addictive pain pills to relieve your chronic pain. At the Dr. Gill's Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief, we have been leading the way to better health, naturally, and have helped tens of thousands of people right here in Middle Tennessee for the past 30 years.
I came to Dr. Gill about 10 years ago after my local doctors recommended surgery. I knew about Dr. Gill and wanted to see if he could help me. 10 years later, I am pain-free, no surgery, and no pain pills.
Surgery is scary, and over 40% of all back surgeries fail, creating a cycle of surgery and pills. There is a safer solution to your chronic pain. Make the call to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief today and get your life back. This office visit is normally $299, but call today and receive your initial consultation, report of finding for just $49. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Call 615-768-8743. That's 615-768-8743.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Mo Patton here with you on this Thursday. It feels like I think the rain has stopped, so hopefully the Nashville Sounds will be able to get their their game in on time tonight.
I think the rain has stopped. I think it looks like the sun's starting to come out because it's gotten a little brighter.
If that's
in
the
here.
case, 3 hours before game time, First Horizon Park will be in A-OK shape.
There you
And you
go.
can make sure to get out there for that 6:05 first pitch against the Durham Bulls. Hit the bull, win a stake. Mo, I use that picture of our next guest because I really just want to know who is the bobblehead that Christina DeNICOla is holding up. So let's bring her in and ask her. Christina, how are you?
Good, and you?
Doing great. Who is the bobblehead? We're bobblehead fanatics here.
That'll be Cliff Floyd when he was with the Marlins, probably in the late 90s.
Cliff Floyd.
It's a good one.
What you know about Cliff Floyd?
Contrary to my looks, I am in my mid-30s, so I actually grew up with the Marlins, the 90s, obviously 2000s. So both, I was alive and definitely remember both World Series championships, and as well as the CS of 1997. I was younger then, but
okay.
Oh,
and
that was fighting words. I'm sorry.
Thanks for joining us, Christina. Yeah, that was man.
Low blow coming out hot.
Fired. Yeah, coming in hot. Hey, obviously, Christina, appreciate you taking some time with us, even though you are coming in throwing shade. But tell us about Miami's acquisition of area legend Ryan Weathers, because I mean, looking at that trade, it looks like they, identified him specifically as somebody that they wanted to go and get. Tell us about the background of that move.
Right. So when Kim spoke to us after the madness of the trade deadline and then a bit last night on the broadcast, the idea is it's kind of what they did a couple years ago, getting Jesus Luzardo from the A's during another, I guess, disappointing season for him, underwhelming, flipping him for the expiring contract of Starling Marte. And so they see the same thing with Ryan Weathers. She said that that's a player they've been trying to get for a couple of years that they thought very highly of. And the idea there is it adds starter depth. And also that with the way Marlins are able to, just manufacture pitchers, get the best out of them, they think the same thing can happen once he joins the organization. And he's at AAA Jacksonville right now. So.
Yeah, he was assigned to Jacksonville yesterday. Saw that. I'm sure that's really encouraging for Ryan to be wanted somewhere, because I feel like there were times when he was with the Padres where he certainly felt like that wasn't the case. 5.73 earned run average over 43 games, 29 starts in 3 seasons with San Diego. 6.25 ERA this year with a 1-6 record at the major league level. He was at AAA El Paso at the time of the trade.
Jacksonville, from El Paso to Jacksonville. Thank you, Jesus.
Right? Yeah. That's
a heck of a trade up.
That is definitely a trade up. I mean, you a lot of folks will see that AAA lateral. No, that's a trade up. Absolutely. But from what Kim might have indicated, from what you've figured out, where do they see him? Do they see him at Jacksonville for the remainder of the season? Do they see him maybe getting up at some point?
Well, so the way she worded it was that could be down the stretch. He could be, maybe someone that comes up. It probably is a matter of how, quickly he can sort of turn things around or show progress being made. We're in the early stages of August. The Marlins are in the race. But you can never have enough starting pitching, as, obviously the Braves have had injuries. So you guys know that. With the Marlins, Uri Perez, the former top prospect, was dealing, but then, he reached already his career innings, so they're monitoring the workload. He might be back at some point. It's just a matter of what capacity, but you can never have enough pitching. And there is a real possibility he could. I think he's an example. We'll see how it turns out, but a change of scenery, maybe it helps him. As a former first-round pick, I can't speak for him, obviously, but it's got to be a bunch of pressure. Who knows how the Padres were kind of handling him, if he was going back and forth. I think he made his debut in the playoffs.
He did.
Yeah. So that's very unconventional to begin with. So, maybe the change of scenery helps, because even, Josh Bell, who the Marlins acquired at the deadline as well, really bad start with Cleveland this year. And last night he became the first player in Marlins history to have 4 hits in his debut for the club.
after being an in-trade acquisition. So you just never know. Sometimes it's just a chain of scenery.
I've always liked Josh Bell going back to his days with the Pirates. So hoping for success for him as long as it's not against Atlanta, obviously. But Ryan Weathers was 1-2 with a 4.20 and 8 starts at AAA, 52 strikeouts in 40 2/3 innings. So it just wasn't quite translating at the major league level for whatever reason. But and you mentioned him as potentially a down the stretch call up. I would think the fact that he can work both out of the pen and start is going to play in his favor as far as whatever move they may make with him as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she specified, they still see him as a starter. I think that's the whole idea, right? For pitching is you develop them as a starter and then you always kind of, pivot if you have to. But what is interesting is the Marlins are one of the probably rare teams that have 4 lefties already in the bullpen, which obviously plays well when you're, this week they played the Phillies with a bunch of lefty bats, but if he came up, or I guess if someone got hurt, he could be a fill-in. But yeah, the Marlins already have 4 lefty arms, which is you don't see that too often in a bullpen.
Well, and being a half game back out of the wild card right now, or are they in the playoffs? I'm not even sure. I guess they're in the playoffs.
It fluctuates, yeah, because they lost. I want to say maybe an hour ago they lost 3 of 4 to the Phillies. It's been rough this second half, so. The fact that
it's still 2.5 up right now.
Yeah.
In the wild card. So clearly Miami is expecting to make a run. You don't go out and get Josh Bell and a pitching depth if you don't feel like you can make a run to the postseason. And this team, we said it early. We said that the Marlins, before this year started, that the Marlins were the team to watch out for. Obviously thought Sandy Alcantara was going to be a bigger factor in that. And if he finds himself at any point, it could be really, really big for Miami coming down the stretch.
Well, and to the last 2 starts, so last week in Tampa or St. Petersburg, he threw a 97 pitch complete game. Yeah, so it was back to the old self. On Wednesday, today's Thursday. On Tuesday, he threw 8 scoreless against the Phillies. Probably should have gone out for the 9th, although post-game manager Skip Schumacher said he was at 101 pitches. No, he had done enough. He could have thrown another complete game. He could have had back-to-back complete games. He was completely dominating that Phillies lineup. So it looks like he's finally regaining form. So the fact that the Marlins are even in the playoff consideration, despite him not producing at all until now, it's truly remarkable. So if they can get him, that's almost like a trade deadline acquisition.
I mean, and that's the thing. This team was expecting to kind of be fighting for a wild card spot before the season. Now they feel really good about it. I mean, you don't become buyers at the deadline without having that expectation. So what does, and please understand that we are so glad that Garrett Cooper is gone. You cannot understand how happy Atlanta fans are to not have to see that guy in our division anymore. But how is this team positioned right now to, hold off Philly and, potentially even, Milwaukee and San Francisco?
Well, that's going to be the thing, right? Because I think I wrote down they're 5-13 in the second half. So imagine if they were just they lost 8 in a row coming out of the All-Star break. So that kind of set the tone. So despite that, they're only, I don't know, they started today, I think, tied for a playoff spot, a wild card spot. So despite all that, with them playing arguably not their worst baseball, but things aren't clicking. One day there might be good pitching, but the hitting's not there. Or there's been, just enough hitting. Starting pitching is great. And then suddenly there's 7 blown saves the second half when they were so reliable in the first half. So if things can start clicking, anything's possible. But the wild card race, nobody is really just taking and running with it. Milwaukee is similar to the Marlins where they have the pitching, but they don't get enough hitting, which is also weird because they have a really good hitting ballpark unlike the Marlins. Then, the Phillies, they upgraded with Lorenzen, who dealt today against the Marlins, but they didn't really make any other moves. And then who else? The Reds didn't make any moves really other than adding a reliever, despite kind of, I guess maybe it's because they're a year ahead of schedule in terms of competing. Who else is the Cubs obviously added, but they're still a few games back in the sense where they're got to catch up to teams and hope the other teams around them lose quite a bit. Who else in the race? Obviously on the West, right? The Diamondbacks, the Giants. Diamondbacks have been skidding just like the Marlins. The Giants have been inconsistent. So it's up for grabs. And if there's one thing working for the Marlins is, their starting pitching, even with the injuries, has been able to get it done. It's just always been the case with the offense, if they can get enough offense. So they added Josh Bell. They added Jake Berger, who's a controllable bat. He had 25 homers with the White Sox this year. So he's a name to look out for.
I think he hit one against us in that series. So, yeah. Christina DeNicola of Marlins.mlb.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And if you can't see it on the screen, you can follow her on whatever that social media platform
that's Twitter,
is.
but she doesn't have. She's very inactive there.
Well,
that's okay.
yes, she has taken a step back, but she is at CD Nicola 13 there. So, Christina, what is your overview of the East then at this point? Or are the Marlins even concerned with the East? Or are they just focusing on the wild card at this point?
I mean, losing 9 of 10 to the Braves. The Braves are. If the Braves don't win the National League and head to the World Series, something's gone wrong. The Marlins have been competitive against every club this year except the Braves. That doesn't necessarily say, to differentiate like the talent level, but it's definitely a fight for the wild card. And I think the Phillies would say the same. The Braves are just on another level from every other team. The fact that the lineup has no holes is just incredible. Doing what they've been doing pitching wise with, 3 starting pitchers on the injured list at the same time. The Marlins had to deal with that as well, but they don't have the, firepower on offense. It's just, I think it was funny because last month and the end of June, the Marlins were in Atlanta. I was there, and I think we saw like the Braves wearing shirts that said like win the East or something. And I'm thinking it's already been won. You don't have to worry about that.
We're not going to say that. You can say
we'll
that.
We will let you say that. Absolutely.
Like I understand, after what happened last year. With,
yes.
That's kind of, but that was the Mets. I think
we'll say that with you. We'll be all in on that. Mets gonna Met.
Yeah.
The Mets are gonna Mets. Yes. So I think the Braves. You could be a little more secure in thinking that the National League East is. It's 11 and a half games back. The Phillies are. The Marlins are 13 or something like that. So
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. I think it's the point where it's like there's a magic number, but
And it's not like it. If history is anything to pay attention to, it's not like the Marlins can beat the Braves in order to catch up quicker. So
right.
It's tough out there. And look, I'm not trying to hate on the Marlins because I think we were among the only people in the world who were expecting Miami to be the competition.
I was really more concerned with the Marlins than I was with New York. Certainly the Phillies and quite possibly the Mets as well from the get. Arias has kind of cooled off.
Yeah, 400 is kind of tough to achieve. But yeah, he went through the same stretch where the Marlins lost 8 in a row. That's when he kind of probably realistically the 400's out of not going to happen. But he's playing every day. Not that he hadn't necessarily done that before, but that's tiring. Like they were relying on him. It was him and Soler through the whole first half, and he's a little bit banged up. Everyone is at this point, but he it's interesting. The second half, like his thing is always going to left field, just getting those line drive easy hits, and he's been pulling the ball a bit more in the second half. I don't know if that's a concerted effort to try to get more extra base hits or this and that. But he's still, I think yesterday or today, he's kind of not hitless, but he did get back up to like 429 over his last 8 games or so. So it's just, he's definitely reliable, but the 400's likely not in play, but he's still with runners in scoring position. I think he's batting like an unreal, like 450 or something. So when it matters most, he's usually delivers.
Got to take that. And Miami is going to be in the race throughout the rest of the year. Hopefully we will see Ryan Weathers get a chance to take his talents to South Beach as well. And looking forward to him. If not, the Sounds do play Jacksonville again, so he could have a little homecoming if
It'll be Loretto night at First Horizon if that were to take place. Yeah.
Everybody in Loretto would be
last person out, turn out the lights.
But Christina, thank you so much for taking time with us. We really appreciate it, and getting a little insight into the Marlins is always fun, because we talk a lot of Braves and we don't really know much about, we don't get any insight into our division opponent. So this was great.
Oh, thanks for having me. Also, I think you guys brought the rain here. It's about to rain in Miami. Thanks.
Well, sorry. Well,
you already played today.
At least your game's over.
And you have a roof.
Yeah, there you go.
We don't have either of those things. So.
I know. Don't get me started. We had in April, the 3-hour rain delay on a Sunday getaway.
Well,
that's
will not forgive. It's still called Truist Park for that. That's like, come on, be better.
Yeah, I love the Marlins Twitter bio says we have a roof.
There you go.
It's fantastic.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well,
no doubt.
We'll make sure to pass that along to our friends who are building the Nashville Stadium. So we will talk to you again soon, hopefully. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, hot seat. Who's on the college football hot seat? We'll tell you who some people think are, and there are some names. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joints. Back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, before we get to the college football coach's hot seat, the seat is scorching.
Actually, it's not.
Now former.
No, it's not. It's not a hot
cooling
seat
off
anymore. It's very cold for Jamarco Jones.
Jamarco Jones no longer sitting in a seat on the Titans roster.
No longer has a seat.
Released following a second on-field incident in as many practices.
How when you are battling for a starting position at a position of need, when one of the head coach's key sayings is don't do stupid stuff to hurt the team, and you go and get in a skirmish with the team's top defensive lineman, and then throw what has universally been received as a dirty block on one of the linebackers in the next practice, that creates a brawl. I guess Jamarco didn't get sent to the sand pit today.
No, he got sent to the locker room in which was a pink slip.
Get your coat, get your brown. Get your butt up out of my gym. Yeah.
The manager wants to see you in his office.
Yeah. Bring your playbook.
Bring your playbook. Wow. It's no good.
It's not. It's not. 6'4", 293 offensive tackle taken in the 5th round of the 18 draft by Seattle. Had been working at right tackle early in camp, but was, I guess, in the mix for that spot with Chris Hubbard, a recent signee, among others, in the upcoming absence of Nicholas Petit-Frere at that spot. So
Chris Hubbard out of the University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Well, there you go.
Formerly of he's played for the Browns. He's played for who else has he played for? Steelers, I think, at some point. Yeah, both of those, Browns and Steelers.
There's always an Alabama connection.
Has played a grand total of 85 games. So played 16 in 18 and 17 and 18, 14 and 19. And I guess he played in 11 games during COVID, only 1 in 2021 and 4 last year for Cleveland. So, I mean, 10-year guy, if he can get you through the first 6 games, you got to feel good about that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, all right, let's get to this hot seat situation here, as college football blue bloods. I don't know where they got this graphic, but let's just go through the list. College football's coaching hot seat. Number 1, Brent Venables. I don't know if he's the hottest, but I certainly think he's got to get better, or his seat's going to be really hot.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If he's not the hottest, I don't know who is. So
Billy Napier in year 2, I don't think his seat is very hot at all. I think everyone knows the situation that he came into.
Yeah, I think 2 may be a little high for him.
Mel Tucker, the only reason he's not number 1 is because he's on a 10-year deal. I think of this group.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a coach that's not on this list at all that I don't understand how he's not on it.
Okay, well,
and that's Neil Brown
at West Virginia.
Yeah. Tony Elliott.
I will tell you one reason he's not on it. Bob Huggins.
Well, yeah, at least they don't have to pay Bob.
Yeah, but I mean, you've named an interim guy, which means you're going to be going through a search.
Yeah. He may be the luckiest dude in college football right now.
Yeah. I mean, right. Neil Brown probably needs to thank Bob Huggins right now. But he also needs to deliver this year.
He does. At least, he's got to go 7-5, 8-4 in this Big 12.
Right.
Tony Elliott, I can see a little bit.
I just don't
think it's too early.
Well, and it's Virginia.
And it's Virginia, so how much do they care? There's that. Justin Wilcox, same at Cal.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a coach. That's good enough for us. Ryan Day? No.
I don't know, man. They don't take to losing to Michigan very well.
He's lost twice. He loses again, he might be number one on this list. Yep. But if they had beaten Georgia and won that, would you change? What's more important?
Oh, goodness. At the Ohio State?
What's more important?
That's a hell of a question. And I don't know. Would you trade a win over Michigan for a national championship?
Would you lose to Michigan a third year in a row if it meant you could win a national championship?
Ooh. The question that Ohio State fans would ask you, though, is can you lose to Michigan and win a national championship?
Could have last year. Almost did. I mean, they were a field goal away from playing TCU for a national title in which C.J. Stroud would have done twice as much damage as Stetson Bennett.
Can you imagine what Ohio State would have done to Texas Christian?
We need to ask that on Monday to Ohio State fanatic Matt Brown. What would happen if they lost to Michigan a third time but got into the playoffs and won the national championship? Steve Sarkisian, I would agree with this. I think he's probably on this list.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if the positions are necessarily right for all of these guys, and maybe all of these guys shouldn't be on the list, but Sarkisian should be somewhere on the list.
We could talk to the next guy about it when we talk to Eric Henry. Marcus Freeman,
I don't think so.
My problem with that is, one, Notre Dame doesn't change head coaches willy-nilly.
Right.
They just don't.
This is his second year.
And they're going to give him time to get it right. Matt Campbell, in the situation they're dealing with, absolutely.
Because I think he was probably on it last year.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And then everything else that's going on.
You lost to Iowa 20. They gave up 27 points to Iowa, bro.
Iowa.
They didn't score 27 the rest of the year.
Total.
So, and Jimbo Fisher, I think they're exactly right. And that's why I wanted to kind of get into the next part of this was I think Jimbo Fisher's on the hot seat. I think if Jimbo Fisher does not win 9 games, I think he gets fired.
Well, I mean, we talked about this.
They were ready to cut
the second half of last season. The second half, probably from October on, we talked about this. And again, the only thing keeping them from firing him last year, I think, was not wanting to stroke that $84 million check. If he gets off to another rough start, somebody might be willing to stroke said check.
If money's the issue.
There is no issue.
Ain't no issue.
Yeah.
Kirby Smart, what would he have to do to be on the hot seat? I don't think it's possible. He and Nick Saban cannot be on the hot seat no matter what after this year.
Well, I mean, when you look at Georgia's schedule, there's nothing that's going to keep them from the playoffs.
Outside of not winning the SEC. I mean, but even if they lost to Tennessee and they were 11-1 and their only loss was to Tennessee,
they're still going to get in.
They're getting in.
Yeah. I can't fathom anything on the field.
Yes.
That would put Kirby Smart on the hot seat.
Their off the field issues that they're dealing with right now, I think, is going to play a factor over the next couple of years.
If they don't get some of that straightened up.
And they just had another guy cited for speeding last week.
You've heard me say this. You can lose games. You can not be a very good person, but you can't do both. And what is going on with the Georgia program right now would kind of fall under that second category, I think. Yeah. And eventually, if it continues, and if they lose some games.
So say they lost 3 games. Say they go 9-3. Or let's say they go 10-3 with a loss in the bowl game to whomever, USC. Then his seat gets a little warm if the offseason issues keep up.
Continue.
Okay. That's fair. Nick Saban, there is no way.
No, because if Nick Saban's seat gets too hot, he's just going to throw up his hands and walk off.
Yeah.
I don't need this.
Exactly. Brian Kelly, I don't think his seat could get hot after this year, although they do have high expectations. If he went, 7-5, they might have some questions.
Well, 7-5 would be a step back from last year.
Big step back.
And with what they've got, that would create some issues.
It would at least warm his seat up. Josh Heupel, what happens? What has to happen for Josh Heupel's seat to warm up? 7-5.
Yeah, I think the defense
losing to Kentucky, losing to South Carolina again.
A couple of folks that they shouldn't. Yeah, and if the offense underperforms or if the defense isn't as improved as it needs to be, I don't really see a hot seat scenario for Heupel. Not with that administration.
Right. Mark Stoops.
I think Mark Stoops is probably closer to having a statue erected outside Kroger Field than he is to getting fired at the University of Kentucky.
After last year's bowl appearance, if they don't make a bowl, does it get warm?
It might get warm, but I think still. And here's the difference, I think, between Kentucky and Ole Miss is I think they recognize where they are on the college football landscape.
We'll take mediocre because mediocre for us is good.
Relative to where we've been.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Shane Beamer. 6-6 warms it up.
Yeah. 6-6 warms it up.
And maybe 5 a bowl loss.
Yeah. 5-7 gets it hot. Yeah.
Okay. Lane Kiffin.
Again, this is
$9
Ole
million
Miss.
a year.
This is Ole Miss.
This is Ole Miss. False sense of self-worth.
False sense of self-worth. If they don't go to a bowl,
it's hot. Jimbo, we've talked about. Hugh Freeze, nothing. He's walking into a mess.
I think the people that matter at Auburn actually realize that. And
they love this guy.
Well, clearly. After everything they went through to get him.
Hugh Freeze without loving this guy.
Yeah, so no.
Sam Pittman. 7-6 last year. They have no offensive line to speak of, and that's what he does.
But what did you just say about Hugh Freeze at Auburn?
They love this guy.
They love this guy. Sam Pittman is one of them, it feels like. I can't see a situation, especially with, as we were talking earlier this morning, they've got arguably the best quarterback running back combination in college football with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders.
7-6 last year. 4 of those losses, a combined 9 points.
Yeah.
You feel like they can get over that hump. They just got to go to a bowl. Now, if they go 4-8,
well, they're not going to go 4-8.
But if they did, this is the hypothetical. What would have to happen for their seat to get hot?
Yeah.
4-8.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
Billy Napier, again, I don't feel like, he'd have to go 2-9. He'd have to only win the FCS games. Lose to Florida State, lose to Tennessee, get slaughtered by Georgia in Jacksonville.
I tell you what, if he loses to Vanderbilt again.
Losing to Vanderbilt.
And here's the thing. It could happen because I don't know how good or how bad Vanderbilt necessarily is, but losing to Vanderbilt tends to get folks fired. So
whether they should or not.
Right. That, yeah.
They're not going to lose to Charlotte, so that's good. Probably going to lose at Utah. Not going to lose to McNeese. Not going to lose to Charlotte. That's 2 wins. And that's it. Those are their 3 non-conference games, and they're probably going to lose to Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were to lose to Tennessee, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Arkansas, they're going to lose to LSU and Florida State and Georgia. I mean, they've got to have a winning record against Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Arkansas, Missouri. They've got to win 4 of those to even get bowl eligible.
Mm-hmm. And if they're not in a bowl,
his seat's
in
hot.
his second year, yeah.
Because that would be taking a step back after last year going 6-7.
Mm-hmm.
But they did lose Anthony Richardson. But again, and then the Jaden Rashada fiasco.
Oh, God.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's a lot to go on there. Clark Lee, clearly not on the hot seat, just got an extension.
They just extended it.
So we're not even going to worry about it. Eli Drinkwitz, 17-19 with a bowl win in 3 years under Eli.
If they don't go to a bowl, and they may not.
Now remember this: he's 11-15 in the SEC. 8 of those wins, Arkansas, Vandy, and South Carolina.
8 of them?
Of those 11. Remember this: no division starting next year. Schedule completely gets blown up. You're not going to play Vanderbilt every year. Now he got a contract extension in November. But what has to happen for him to be on the hot seat?
I think if they don't go to a bowl, it gets interesting over there.
Okay. And let's see here. Finally, Zach Arnett, first year.
No. First year replacing Mike Leach. No, he's fine.
I mean, 3-9 warms it up, maybe.
Maybe, but I still think everybody recognizes the circumstances under which he stepped into that position. I think he's gonna get a lot of patience in a lot of corners, and rightfully so.
I would agree. All right. Justin, do we have Eric? Did he call you?
Can Justin hear us?
No, we do not.
You've not heard from him?
Okay.
I'm not.
No big deal. All right. Well, let's take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Eric is at practice right now. And
we're talking practice.
And so
we knew
we understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people got to work.
Let's take it. I know. I hate when
when work gets in the way of a good time. Yeah,
it's no good. So we'll take a regular break here. When we come back, there he is. Let's do a 1 minute break. Do a 1 minute break and come back with Eric Henry right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat.
She's on Thinking Out Loud, presented by Regions, and Out of Pocket with Alyssa Lang. It is, in fact, Alyssa Lang.
I'm a little nervous. I'm going to lower the bar for guests now.
Oh, no.
Apologies in advance. It sounds like
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey.
You got that radio voice.
I do.
It's a good sound.
Thanks for radio too.
As do we. And then here's the other thing. You guys, you're spot on with the name. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. everybody wants to be on Main Street. So,
And we reach every main street in Middle Tennessee, Coach?
yeah, that's it. So
Perfect.
when you are on Main Street and you are moving,
You gotta love it.
like you're moving, I was impressed.
I'm glad someone.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Continuing our coverage of college football from across the country with the Big 12 today. And while realignment is the talk of the world, we're going to preview this upcoming football season, and we're going to do it with 24/7 Sports Eric C. Henry. Is it hotter there than it is in South Florida?
Listen, first off, always appreciate you guys having me on. Apologies for being a little bit late. We got lucky.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Okay, we got lucky. We thought we were going to get a 15, 20-minute window, and Steve Sarkisian left us out there for about 40 minutes. Now, to your question.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to your question, as a born and raised Floridian, I was cocky. I thought I knew heat, but I'm telling you right now, Texas heat's a different animal, brother. I'm just telling y'all right now, it's different.
Now we know. That's all we were worried about.
That's wild.
They ain't got bugs like y'all got though.
Yeah, that's a fact. I haven't seen any real palmetto bugs or mosquitoes, but this heat, man, it's a different animal. So Sark left us out here to roast. Maybe he was upset with something we said. He was out here for a while.
There was a method to his madness. Keep y'all out there in it a little longer, huh?
Exactly. You know it, Mo.
Eric, you had a tweet about Texas starting their 28th year and final year in the Big 12 practice this week. Pick to win the Big 12 as they go out the door. What do you see that makes that a solid pick or not?
Well, part of the reason you can look at Texas as a solid pick to win the Big 12 is just the sheer amount of talent they have returning. You take a look at the amount of starters on offense, the continuity of returning 5 offensive linemen. Talk about preseason defensive player of the year and Jalen Ford, a lot of veterans like Jahdae Barron, some of the transfers they've been brought in as well. You look at Jalen Catalon from Arkansas. It was an all SEC performer as a freshman. He's banged up the last few years, but he certainly is a talented player. You go to the offensive side of the ball. You get an A.D. Mitchell from Georgia, someone who, again, was banged up last year, but of his 7 career touchdown catches, 6 of them were in college football playoff games. So when we talked to Steve Sarkisian on Tuesday for his media day, the thing that he felt, and I asked him this, I said, now entering year 3, do you believe the construction of this roster is one that is one in your vision of a football team and one that can compete for a Big 12 title? And he felt absolutely. He felt the biggest thing was the depth. And while you can say that's somewhat a cliche of coaches to say, hey, each year we've got more depth, so on and so forth, he really believed that they have more depth this year, and it's not a roster of some guys are young and don't have experience. It's a matter of guys who've all played. And, of course, that starts with the quarterback in Quinn Ewers, who we just got off the practice field, and he had another good day out there in at least the 40-minute viewing session that we could see. But I believe all of those factors really do make Texas a legit candidate. I'm not going to say Texas is back, but it does make them a legit candidate to compete in the Big 12.
We have to mention, by the way, Texas receiver A.D. Mitchell played his high school ball here locally at Cane Ridge High School in Antioch. So if we don't mention that, somebody will say, how come they didn't say anything about A.D. Mitchell? Well, there we go. Eric, is it interesting that 6 different teams receive first place votes in the Big 12?
You know what? I did find that interesting. In my mind, I think here's the thing. And now this is my first year covering the league, so I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't necessarily think that had anything to do with parity in my mind, because I really do think, again, in my opinion, this is a Texas-Oklahoma league, and then you look at the rest of the teams who receive first place votes, like Kansas State and others. That could just be kind of throwing darts. Now, with that being said, I will use a team like Kansas as example, right? They bring back their quarterback in Jalen Daniels, someone who we know is probably the best quarterback entering this year in the league. And a fun fact, guys, I don't know how many players show up to Big 12 media days or any conference media day in general wearing a chain that has their highlights playing on the chain. The beauties of technology in 2023. So certainly a confident young man. But they do return pieces as well, such as Devin Neal and others. So Kansas is somewhat of a dark horse. But Mo, just to kind of answer your question, I don't think that's indicative of parity as much as, some of the votes just being like, hey, if we're not going to go Texas, Oklahoma, who else can we pick? And we'll throw one out there.
Who is a dark horse to win this thing?
I'll give you two. Again, to emphasize the point about Kansas, if you get a player like Jalen Daniels, again, when you look at Kansas last year, and they got off to, I believe, a 4-1 start before Jalen Daniels is banged up. A player that I know you guys know really well in Conference USA territory, former North Texas quarterback Jason Bean had to sub in for a couple of games. He's a super athletic guy, but not quite the passing threat that Jalen Daniels is, and they dropped a couple of games there, and that really affected their chances going down the stretch. If they can find some defensive play to rise, I think they're a dark horse. Yeah, look at Kansas State as well. I know Deuce Vaughn is now in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys and making plays in camp, but I'm going to give you guys a name to keep an eye on. That's Treshaun Ward from Florida State. He's a guy who had a lot of success, during his Florida State career. Was never the full-time guy, but you got to have someone there at Kansas State to replace those carries. I think he's someone to keep an eye on. And last but not least, I'm not saying this because it's my alma mater, but I will throw UCF as a newcomer in there. I do think they'll be the best of the newcomers entering the Big 12, but the reason why I say they're a dark horse pick is the amount of Power 5 transfers that they brought in. It's funny, I was just, at practice concluded there, where some of the writers we were gathering and we were talking about who we thought could be a dark horse. And Kirk Bowles, the legendary columnist from the Awesome American Statesman, was talking about the fact that he likes UCF. Chip Brown, my fellow cohort from Horns 24/7 Sports, talking about the fact that he likes UCF to upset Kansas in his Big 12 upset of the year. So I think when you take a look at the Power 5 transfers they brought in with Def, and then, of course, everything comes down to their quarterback and John Reese Plumlee, the Ole Miss transfer, who he's a guy in my mind, if he can throw for 3,000 yards and run for 1,000, which sound like gaudy numbers, but not quite out of his realm. He threw for 2,500 and rushed for over 800 last year. That gives them a fighting chance in every ball game, and they don't play Texas as well. They play Oklahoma, of course. They'll go up against their former quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. So if they can pull off those upsets, I'd keep an eye on UCF as well.
Yeah, but they still got Gus Malzahn, so we'll see. I think you're right, though. That's an interesting point that they don't play Texas, but they do play Dylan Gabriel. And let's face it, Oklahoma is not, again, we just talked about Brent Venables being potentially on the hot seat. So UCF, and you answered my next question, who was going to have the best year of the four newcomers. To me, it feels like UCF is primed to really make some noise in this conference. And I mean, what do you expect out of the Houston, Cincinnati, and BYU additions?
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of Houston with Dana Holgorsen, I hate applying the make or break label to coaches, but I really do think this is a very pivotal year for him in terms of, where is that program heading? We all know the Fertittas. It's not like they don't have finances, don't have money there in Houston. They certainly have poured a lot into that program. It's going to come down to, being able to replace Clayton Tune, being able to replace some of the pieces that are now elsewhere. Can they get that done? They're in a quarterback. They have a quarterback battle going on right now. Keep an eye on the young guy, Lucas Coley, really pushing some of the other quarterbacks there. But that's definitely going to come down, in my mind, to a quarterback play. And you don't just replace a guy like Tank Dell overnight as well. In terms of Cincy has a really good foundation. I really love, of course, what Luke Fickell was able to start there, and now, of course, progressing on into the last few years. But the big thing in my mind with Cincy is just don't have the horses really compete. I'd say the same thing for BYU. They are returning some players from last year, getting some players back from injury. But again, it's just a matter about having the horse. And I think in their first year in the Big 12, it's really going to, it's a wait and see approach. Again, it's why I think UCF, not showing any bias to my alma mater, when you just talk about the foundation of the team, I'll throw another guy out there from your neck of the woods, Ricky Barber, from the other side of the 100 miles of hate rivalry, former Western Kentucky Hilltopper. He's a guy who's really excelled in the American and was actually got some really attention at Big 12 Media Day. So he's a guy who you can expect as well. So UCF has the best foundation, and some of the others are really a wait and see approach.
Eric C. Henry of Horns 24/7 joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, as we continue with our college football previews. Eric, you mentioned Oklahoma, that it's a Texas-Oklahoma league, which obviously after this year, that won't be the case. Oklahoma picked third in the preseason poll. Based on what? Because they really struggled last year.
It's interesting you put it that way, Mo. If you're asking me, in my opinion, again, I do think the expectation when you take a guy like Danny Stutzman on the defensive side of the ball, someone who you know is going to be a contender for Defensive Player of the Year. Don't let the Horns fans hear this, but I actually voted when we had our 24/7 sports media, our work poll in terms of who we pick for Defensive Player of the Year. I chose Danny Stutzman over Jalen Ford. I'm sure that'll ruffle some feathers, but you have a guy like who's really talented. I'm very high on Dillon Gabriel, guys. Again, if you take a look at what they were able to do before he got banged up with that concussion, the season kind of went downhill. Of course, we saw that drubbing that Oklahoma took last year at the hands of Texas. So I do think Dillon Gabriel in year 2, and another reason why I think you got to be behind Oklahoma, this is very much a make or break year for him because they've got talented freshman quarterbacks right behind him who, hey, this is the year for you to have your best year and excel because we've got those guys who are coming up next year, almost similarly, guys, to what I would say with Texas, with Quinn Ewers. While Quinn is a certainly talented quarterback of his own, when you got Malik Murphy, who had a great spring, and Arch Manning behind him, it's like, hey, this is your year while those guys are still young because next year they're only going to get better and they're going to push you. So I do think that'll serve to bring out the best in Dillon Gabriel. But it's a fair point, Mo, that Brent Venables, his club did struggle last year, but I just think they're due for a bounce back year.
Going back to that Texas quarterback situation just a second, is the hope that Quinn Ewers will really just tear it up and go pro? Because again, you've got Malik Murphy, you've got Arch Manning sitting there, and you need one of those guys to not be there next year, right?
Absolutely. So to your question, is the hope that Quinn Ewers will tear it up and go pro? I think that's Quinn Ewers' hope. It has to be his hope. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Malik Murphy, I haven't been covering college football as long as some others. I've only been doing it 7 years, but I've never seen a physical specimen. I was standing next to, again, another coworker of mine, and Jeff Howe from 24/7 Sports, and he said to me, Jeff has been covering this team for over a decade. He said that he has never seen a skeleton drill as clean as he saw today's skeleton drill. And the reason he pointed to that was because of the fact that the quarterback talent. You don't have guys, you don't have receivers having to stretch out and dive for balls. You don't have guys, balls gone all over the place. It just looked very crisp. And Malik Murphy, again, no effort chucking it 50 yards downfield. So he's a super talented guy. And of course, Arch Manning, the pedigree, the bloodlines, he's going to only get better. I don't think you can read too much into the spring he had once he gets into fall camp. And he looked better out there today as well. But Malik Murphy, guys, I mean, he looks like a complete stud. So Quinn Ewers, this is his football team. Steve Sarkisian has emphasized it. Kyle Flood, offensive coordinator, has emphasized it. But I do think, Malik Murphy's only going to get better, and he's coming. Is as much as he'll narrow that gap, maybe he doesn't transfer. Maybe he stays and tries to compete another year, and that would only be bad news if Quinn Ewers is back for another year. So I do think this is Quinn's make or break year to get the most out of his potential and go pro.
All right. Eric C. Henry joining us now with Horns 24/7. And Eric, we appreciate you were taking some time with us, and thank you for hopping on. We're glad that we were able to get some insight into the Big 12. And Lord knows you're lucky. You don't have to deal with Big 12 expansion because your team's coming over here with us. So you don't have to worry about it, but boy, is it a mess right now. So we appreciate it again. Thanks for taking some time and look forward to talking to you again throughout the season.
Absolutely.
Not a problem, fellas. I'm going to run inside, get some AC and some water. Y'all take care.
Do that. We'll talk to you.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. What you got?
We didn't even get to ask him about Iowa State. That's
didn't even get there.
We got to get him back on.
Yeah. I mean,
because
that
I'm not sure what he would have known necessarily, but that's going to be a topic certainly in that conference for a while.
Yeah, no doubt. Iowa State's it's insane right now.
Mm-hmm.
The whole situation. So let's get out of here. Tomorrow, Big Ten. Sky Bolt will join us from the Nashville Sounds, and we will continue getting ready for high school and college football season on a Friday. Tell you what we're looking forward to over the weekend. Braves and Cubs will be playing, so we'll be trying not to watch that too much.
Right.
All of the exciting stuff here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Next week, we will have the Pac-12-ish, maybe.
Pac.
I mean, they're going to have a conference this year, so I guess whatever.
Arizona and Arizona State are doing something tonight.
So is Washington.
Right?
So is Washington.
Tonight?
Tonight. So if Matt Brown said if there is a Pac-12 conference on Monday, he'll join us at 2:20.
Okay.
So Matt Brown on Monday, but we'll also preview the Pac-12, and then we'll start our SEC team-specific previews. So plenty of college football to be talking about.
It's coming.
We will
As Ed Orgeron would say.
Exactly. So come back with us tomorrow at 2:00 and each and every weekday right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint in the Lee Company studio. We'll see you tomorrow.